More Than Digital Marketing podcast, the podcast about digital marketing and so much more. I am Ricky. I am your host today, and I'm joined by...
It's Barnaby. Hello.
Thank you, Barnaby. So what are we talking about today?
Today, I thought we could do something a little bit different. I saw this on social media, LinkedIn, and it was, what are the soft skills or characteristics people need to excel in social media?
Yeah, it's a really interesting one, actually, because I think sometimes when you talk to people about being a social media manager, they have a perception of what that means and what your job is.
Oh, rogue mic.
But yeah, the actual truth behind what you need to do day to day can be very different.
For sure. Firstly, I think a lot of people in the social media space tend to be female. So I'm flying the flag for social media boys out there. There's a lot of content on LinkedIn, isn't there? There's like girls in marketing,
which I really love.
Marketing girlies. I see stuff like that all the time.
Yeah.
I can relate, but I'm not a marketing girly, you know. So that's thing number one. First of all, you need to be female, or not. But yeah, did you want to kick us off in what you found today to talk about?
Yeah, so I guess just to start off with, it's the idea of what is soft skills and hard skills. So soft skills are those kind of interpersonal skills that you've got, your kind of personality based traits that kind of you need in your day-to-day life. And then the hard skills are more kind of that evidence-based, your kind of technical skills, I guess, your education, things like that would be more of your hard skills. So soft skills, I guess, are what we're talking about today. I would probably kick off with something that I think is something maybe I didn't think I would need going into social media.
Ooh, okay.
And it's that kind of persuasive skill and confidence as well.
Okay.
So thinking about a lot of what we do is creating content, obviously. So if you are filming a video, for example, with someone who has never been on camera before, or you're out doing a vox pop and you need to ask random people questions, or if you are in the video and you're doing something in public, you often need to have the confidence yourself, but B, have those skills where you can really make someone feel comfortable being on camera and relate to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that can be a really tricky part of the job.
Big time.
People tend to clam up the first time they're put on camera and put under pressure, and it's so natural. But a big part of the job is making that content still 10 out of 10 and really great for socials. So yeah, definitely something that people might not think they need to do. I don't know if you've kind of had that.
Yeah, big time. So like here, when we create videos in the house, we've got people in here who they'll be on, like, you know, sometimes I've been on some quite difficult client calls and people will excel and they'll hold it together and they'll deliver, and I'll be like, wow, you are phenomenal, you handled that really well. And then we come in this studio and ask them to talk the basics of SEO, and you know, it might take 30 takes because it's just something different about that camera, being in someone's face. And it's not a big camera, is it?
No.
Look at it. It's not, for anyone who doesn't know, we don't film on a DSLR, we film on a DJI Pocket 3, so it's a very small camera. But yeah, and I completely get it, and it's definitely something that I've had to learn is how to do that. Do you have any quick tips or anything we can share with the listeners?
Well, one thing that I would say is you need to be prepared for rejection.
Sure.
So if you are asking people off the bat to be in videos, you will get people saying no. So you kind of need to be prepared for that and get used to handling that. Something that I think really helps is really going through a run through of what someone can expect. So I think sometimes we take it for granted that people will know what will happen when we're filming a video because we do it every single day. We live and breathe social media. So I think sometimes showing people maybe an example video of the kind of thing that you want to do, or just kind of talking them through the process as well, can really put people at ease. And also just acknowledging the first few takes probably won't be used, and saying that to them and kind of saying this is more of a practice run. And sometimes when you say this is a practice run, you get it first time, because people kind of go, okay, and they relax a bit more and they're like, absolutely smash it. But yeah, I think that's a few things that I've found really helpful kind of getting people who aren't used to social media or video making on camera.
Perfect. Thank you. I'll take that on board. I guess there's one I wanted to contribute as well. Is we spoke very quickly about this, but I'll ask again. Have you read the book Surrounded by Idiots?
I have not.
No. Wow. So I read it a couple of years ago, and it's all about there's 4 different types of people broadly: red, yellow, blue, green. And the idea is the book came from a manager talking to someone saying, I'm always surrounded by idiots. And it's like, no, you're just surrounded by people who are different to you and communicating with those people differently. So broadly, as part of that, there's 2 different types of people of them. One is thinkers, people who come up with great ideas but aren't initiators and don't follow up on the idea. And then you've got people who are like initiators who like want to full steam ahead. And I think that combination of having thinkers who can kind of help with strategy to a level, come up with ideas, and you're just really observant, really analytical, but then people who can actually go and make it happen as well is such an important combination. Because if you've got too many thinkers, you've got ideas about great content but you don't produce it, and if you've got too many people doing stuff, you've got lots of content coming out but it might not be the best.
Yeah, and that's really interesting. And thinking about it when you've worked with kind of smaller teams or for organizations that maybe don't have a bigger budget, sometimes one person needs to do all those things, right? So I guess I would take it as sometimes you kind of need to fake it till you make it a little bit with that. And even if you're not naturally a doer, for example, you might just need to acknowledge that and then start making a conscious effort with that, or vice versa. I don't know, what would you say you are? Do you know, is there a test or something you do?
There are personality tests you can do, like we do one when we start at Optix, don't we? And that's really useful, and I think that will measure that to a level. I think I'm naturally more of a thinker and an analyzer. But eventually you have to do. So that doesn't come naturally to me. I'm someone who, if I've got 10 hours to do something, I'd like to spend like the first 2 planning it and making sure everything's in a line rather than getting really stuck into it. How about you?
I would say I'm actually a doer. So I think my background's in journalism, and something that I very quickly learned as a journalist was you really needed to prepare if you were going to interview someone, and you couldn't just walk in and do it off the bat. I mean, you can, but it's a lot harder.
Sure.
So I would say, naturally a doer. But like we've said, you need to adapt when you're a social media manager or, in lots of jobs, and make yourself be both, I guess.
Sure. Well, and I think that's a testament then, isn't it? We are both people who lean in different directions, but we work together as kind of like 2/3, I'd say, maybe, of the social media department at Optix. So there you go, case in point.
And interesting, because I would have thought you were a doer.
Would you?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
So learn something new. I think off of that as well is kind of being a decision maker. So I think it's very easy to look at all the data, feel quite overwhelmed, and have all these options sat in front of you.
Sure.
So it's not always about like the doing. Sometimes it's just about making that call and saying, actually, this is where we're going to focus on our strategy, or this is where we're going to target, this is the audience we're going to target on this platform. Those decisions can be really tricky to make, and it can be quite easy to go back and forth. So I think that decision making is kind of links in with that, but is a really key kind of trait that you need as a social media manager.
And I guess that confidence and decisiveness comes in time, doesn't it? Right?
Yeah, definitely. And the more experience you have, and the more, I think just the more, not just the experience, but also that trust in yourself. And that does come with experience, but also knowing that you do know what you're talking about, can really help with that.
For sure. I don't have any more written down.
Yeah, I think the other ones that I kind of thought of might be a bit obvious, but then I guess depending on where you are in your journey or where you sit within a marketing team, it might not. But I guess things like creativity and adaptability. So social media is always changing. Your plans for where your social account might be in 6 months will probably look very different actually in
Yeah,
6
big time.
months as algorithms change or as how users change their kind of behaviors. So I think you've got to have that personality where you're up for a challenge and you're kind of happy to give new things a go and try different things. So yeah, I think kind of the creative and adaptable traits are really key as well.
Absolutely. One did come to my mind then, but I've just forgotten it. This is not great podcast or video content, is it? What were we saying?
Adaptability, things changing, creativity, day to day being different. 6 months time it might look different.
Yeah.
It's gone.
It has gone. Do you have another one? I'll try really hard to think without looking like I'm thinking on the video.
I can come up with another one, and that one would be, I guess it's not really a soft skill. It's more something that you need to think about a lot more than what you maybe would think, is like that psychological element to social media. So like psychology behind behavior. And you really start to kind of learn, like we were just saying, personality traits and how people behave. And I find that a really interesting part of the job. And looking at how that behavior changes over time, different audiences, things like that. So there is a big kind of psychology element to our job.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I've remembered what mine was going to be before it goes out of my head, which I think it already has. No, it's not. Is number one, as a social media manager, you have to be plugged in on social media to understand the latest trends. But I think beyond that, which a lot of people aren't, is you have to be plugged into the world and what's going on in the news and the wider context of the world.
Yeah.
Because a trend might come out and you might not understand the context or the global picture of things behind it, and it could be come across as in poor taste. But also, if you do have an understanding of what's going on in the world, it can help you identify content opportunities and things like that going forward. So at the moment in the UK, we are on the cusp of a general election, and you can see, if you follow things like Lad Bible or Archbishop of Banterbury and stuff like that on Instagram, a lot of content is starting to focus on politicians and that kind of movement. So just keeping up with the world is a really good way of making sure you're in tune with social media. And it's something I don't tend to do a lot, and it's something I need to improve on. But we do actually measure that weekly at Optix with the Joe pub quiz every week, which is actually a pretty good test of what is going on certainly in the UK. And I scored a 20 out of 25 last week.
Very good.
It was good.
Well done.
I think I got 14 the week before, so it was I needed that, you know.
Yeah, that little boost. No, I completely agree. I think it is something that you might not realise, but it really does affect what's happening in the world. Does affect social media massively.
Big time.
And not just like those kind of big elections, but it can be really small things as well that people just pick up and run with. So yeah, I definitely think it's something to make sure, like you said, not posting something in bad taste, but also you might come up with a great idea off the back of it. So it can be really beneficial.
For sure.
Fab. I think that's everything.
Me too. Thank you so much, Ricky.
No, thank you. And we'll see you next week for another edition. It'll be me and you again, Barnaby, won't it? Yeah, great. And we're actually about to film it and record it now. So see you in a few minutes, I guess, but it'll be next week.
So if you have any questions, make sure you email us at podcast@opticsolutions.co.uk. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.